For a time, the dramatic changes around the world and Reagan's personal popularity deflect attention from a series of scandals that might have destroyed another administration. The most politically damaging has its beginnings in the Middle East.
A plan arose for the Israelis to sell weapons to Iran. The United States then would replenish the Israeli supply of weapons, and Iran would force its friends in Lebanon to release the American hostages. As this arms for hostages deal, as it obviously was, went forward, a youngish lieutenant colonel named Oliver North was to buy weapons for the Contras, the counter-revolutionaries against the government of Nicaragua. Now, why was this kind of complex arrangement necessary? Because Congress had forbidden any official or agency of the U.S. government from funding the war of the Contras against the government of Nicaragua. Well, the whole scheme became public in 1986, at the time of the American congressional election. The Reagan administration really was knocked back on its heels by this.
After Ronald Reagan was elected and after the economy turned around, there was a lot of talk about how things were on the upswing. But the fact that Ronald Reagan said that there was no involvement in arms purchases for Iran in a way that was totally misleading and deceptive kind of reminded the public that they ought to be skeptical. Also, the increase in polarization in Congress led to more political conflict.
Throughout that summer of 1987, many people were persuaded that this was at least as grave a scandal as Watergate, that Reagan would be impeached the same way that Richard Nixon had been in 1974. Didn't happen.
Nixon's scandal involved things that were very easy to condemn. You know, you're not supposed to raise money illegally and then spend it to sabotage your opponent's campaigns. Everyone understands that. Whereas Reagan's scandal involved foreign policy, some Americans were much more willing to say, well, it wasn't right, but the president's in charge of foreign policy. And so Reagan was able to survive the scandal for that reason, whereas Nixon was not.